Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I pray you're all well. Right, let's start. Al-Fatiha. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وامنحنا يا ربنا علما وعملا وقربا يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم أكرمنا ولا تهنا وأعطنا ولا تحرمنا وآثرنا ولا تؤثر علينا وأرضنا وارض عنا يا كريم. So, Alhamdulillah, we looked at these verses of Surah Al-An'am. Last time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us about these people who, lied about God and made all of these false claims, and that is going to catch up to them. And when it does catch up to them at death, they really will regret it. So now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's established Tawheed, God exists, He can only be one. And we looked at the proofs for this, and then thereby also affirming the Risala of Sayyidina Muhammad. And now He also affirms another aspect of Tawheed, which is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has, He alone has the power to do anything. And He alone has infinite, perfect knowledge of everything, which also feeds into this whole concept of the resurrection. And that He resurrects us with full knowledge of everything we've done, and then there's the recompense, good for good and bad for bad. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then says, Inna Allah faliqul habbi wa nawa. And what this and the coming verses do is that they talk about how His perfect knowledge and perfect power and His amazing actions in the way He does things, in the way He makes things, are all parts of the knowledge and understanding that we should have about Him, that we should know about Him, and they all feed into and support the proofs of the revelation and the resurrection that is yet to come. It says, "Inna Allah faliqul habbi wa nawa, yukhrijul hayya min al mayyit wa mukhrijul mayyita min al hayy. Dhalikumullahu fa anna tu'fakun." Indeed, Allah is the one who causes seeds and fruit stones to sprout. He brings forth the living from the dead and the dead from the living. We're going to look at how this should be. And that is Allah. How can you then be deluded from the truth? Okay, so with this, someone could say, well, how can I be resurrected, and how can I be recompensed for all that I've done and everything? So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Inna. So Inna Allah. So it starts with the Inna, which shows a direct connection that He is proving His power and His strength. And power can be proven in the most elaborate and also in the most subtlest of ways, as we see here. And so it says, indeed, Allah, nominal sentence, firm, this is not changing, this is fixed, this is reality. So Inna Allah, the Supreme King, who has all the qualities and traits of perfection, Faliqul habbi wan nawa. Right, so what it means is, Faliq is something that causes another thing to split. So you have a grain, and he makes it split. So whatever's inside, I don't know the technical word for it, that comes out and it grows. Right. So the seed. So the difference to the hab and nawa. A hab is the grain that grows, and a nawa is the stone in a fruit. So you'd refer to like a date stone, or the stone in a mango or a plum or a peach. So that's referred to as a nawa, and so that's something that's surrounded with fruit. Two different types, right? One is just found just like that. The grains, you just take them off the corn, and like this. Inna Allah faliqul habbi wa nawa. So this, Allah causes it to split, and this is truly miraculous, right? Imam al-Razi has got a long section on it. Imam al-Biqai has taken his and reworded it as well. It's beautiful, right? Reflect on this. I won't go into too much, but reflect on this. So firstly, there's something in all seeds, that when you plant them in the ground, and these stones, when you plant it in the ground, there's something within it. I forgot its technical term. It settles at the bottom. So the seed, when it's in the ground, it knows gravity. Well, not it knows, Allah has placed it there for us to reflect on, and Allah makes it happen. But the direction of gravity is clear. So gravity pulls this thing to the bottom of the seed, so the roots grow out that way. Now you don't see the roots growing off in that direction, and then the trunk of the tree growing off in, at 90 degrees to it. No. Why do the roots always grow downwards? Well, you can say, well, this is part of every seed, and this and the other, and this is how they've evolved. No, right? This points to design, and there's only so many things you can deny, right, before you start looking foolish, right? Design, despite what most schools may teach and whatever, most boffins, all these people who say, we're scientists and we know. Come on, just come on. There's so many aspects of design that can't be denied. And it might be a movement, but I actually did read that there are a lot of actual scientists, professionals, experts in their fields that don't subscribe to the theory of evolution, right? And they have questions about it, and they say it just can't work. So regardless, right, I'm not getting into that discussion, but the point is, it's not just me saying this, it's experts in the field and whatever. Anyway, but the point is, the design element cannot be denied. They are denying it, so it can be denied. But reasonably, on a reasonable basis, like, how could something just know? If it took Isaac Newton, for an apple to fall on his head to realize, gravity, and then, come up with all these theories about, his mechanics of the universe. And, how can an inert, inanimate, unthinking, incapable of thinking seed know this, or the tree that it came from? And then you get to the chicken and egg scenario, don't you? Anyway, so that's why the roots grow down. And then it grows up, and then so Imam al-Razi also says here that you can have really solid ground, tough ground, and the roots will still grow and the trunk will still grow, and this thing, it cracks open and it grows out, and the ground is actually hard, right? You try digging, it's an effort, and you need so you have the shovel, which has a thin head, all the surface tension gets pushed onto that spot, so it digs into the ground, and you pull it out. So it's not easy. There's a lot of pressure. It's all compressed, and so then for a small seed to burrow its way through underground, up and down, it's amazing. It's just so subtle, and yet it's an amazing manifestation of the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's one aspect of it. And then the seed and how it grows and everything. And there are other ways, but it's Allah who makes it happen. Inna Allaha faliqul habbi wa nawa. Allah is the one who splits the seeds and the fruit stones. And then to reiterate this, he says, yukhrijul hayya min al mayyiti. He brings the living from the dead, which you can say. So the tree and the plants are living, right? And you can also say, children, babies, right? They come from semen, which is, can you class it as being alive? Do they class the sperm cells as being alive? I don't know. But regardless, the sperm cells and the egg and together, it doesn't have life in the way we describe life. But in any case, that's an interpretation of some of the ulama. But you can see the living tree, there's growth, there's change as the tree grows and the plant grows, and it brings it up from something that's inert, mayyit, right? Life doesn't necessarily mean walking, talking like we are, right? But it's inert. يخرج الحي من الميت. And then, so what they say is, it says, let's go back to this. So he says, indeed, Allah is the one who causes seeds and fruit stones to sprout. And then to reiterate this, He brings forth the living from the dead. It should be full stop. And the dead from the living. So here in Arabic, it should, the way like Imam Biqai and others have said, you should do atf of the mukhrij to faliq. So you'd say, Inna Allah faliqu and Inna Allah mukhriju. So mukhrij is the one who brings out. So in the previous sentence, yukhriju, he brings it out again and again and again, present tense verb. Here is a noun, right? The active participle, the one who brings out. So it has a lot of strength, the rhetorical wording, to show that it's not just by chance. And it's not just two things being placed together so they reacted. Why do they react, right? Don't you stop at, you ask why, you keep asking why until you get to the real cause and the source of everything. Anyway, so here he's saying He's the one who brings the dead from the life, from the living. وَمُخْرِجُ الْمَيِّتَ مِنَ الْحَيِّ. And just like the living tree comes from a seed, the seeds which are not living come from the tree, right? Whether it's in the form of fruit, right, or from the grain that comes from, say, wheat, for example. It's not living, it's not characterized as living, yet it comes from something living. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can do all of this. He says ذَلِكُمُ So dhalika, here dhalikum, it's kum because it's addressing everyone. And dhalika is something high, lofty, amazing. Originally it means something that's far away, but in this context something amazing, high, far beyond what we can imagine is Allah. Dhalikumullah, the true, perfect God. And then he says, فَأَنَّا تُؤْفَكُونَ. He is the one that does this, brings the living from the dead and the dead from the living. All this food and grain and everything that you eat and that you benefit from, it's all from Him, all from His gifts and favors, despite people turning away from Him. So فَأَنَّا. So you can express a question of how with kaifa as well. Kaifa. And that is perfect in its own context, but here it's as though someone just can't fathom it, and they just think about it and think about it. What can't they fathom? Tu'fakun. So tu'fakun is someone who's directed away from something, almost like something is deflected, right? So she is going straight and recognizing God is a creator, God does all of this, and then all of a sudden, or not even all of a sudden, and then someone is just taken off course. They stop this thinking and then they start thinking, oh yeah, it was random chance, or there's an idol, or there's many other gods. One's in charge of date stones and one's in charge of grapes. So he's directed and diverted away like you divert a river. He's diverted away from the truth, from recognizing and embracing the truth. So it's as though this has happened, and it's as though someone can't fathom it, like, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows everything, right? And it's human beings. This is those someone there is trying to fathom it, understand how, after it being so clear, and you can see the signs of His perfection and His, like look at the perfect design and all these things. You can see it there that He has a maker, and then yet still they turned away and they go and worship something else, or they say there's no maker. How is this possible? And so this person keeps thinking and thinking, and he's just frustrated, and he says, how on earth? Right? It's anna tu'fakun. It's like almost expressing your sadness. No, your sadness. Like how can you leave? How can you turn away from? How can you be, turned away from God, right? And they're turned away because they allow other influences to come, and So this is quite powerful. Anyway, so then he says, فَالِقُ الْإِصْبَاحِ, the splitter of the dawn, وَجَعَلَ اللَّيْلَ سَكَنًا وَالشَّمْسَ وَالْقَمَرَ حُسْبَانًا ذَلِكَ تَقْدِيرُ الْعَزِيزِ الْعَلِيمِ. He causes the dawn to break and has made the night for rest and made the sun and moon to travel with precision. That is the design of the Almighty, all-knowing. So this is interesting. So once again, the word Faliq, as we said, the one who causes the split, al-isbah, the morning, the dawn. So there's a couple of positions, either dawn itself, you could say, or there's something called the zodiacal light, which is roughly, depending where you are, it happens like half an hour or so before dawn. So dawn is like you have the horizon in the east is just dark from night, and then a bright light appears, horizontally on the horizon, and it keeps appearing and intensifying until the sun rises. But before that, you'll get like a vertical light, appearing from the horizon, and in Arabic they refer to it as Dhanabu Sarahan, a wolf's tail, which is like kind of goes out like that. And so this is it as well, because it splits the darkness. So there's darkness, and then this light comes in between, and it splits it. Or you can say the dawn, and there's other positions. He's the one that does that. وَجَعَلَ اللَّيْلَ سَكَنًا وَالشَّمْسَ. So he's made the night a second. Second is from the word sukun, to be still, but it's more than that. When things are still, you feel calm and at ease. But then there's also this concept of intimacy and complete relaxation, and no toil, no struggle, just where you're just resting and everything's just still, right? It's beautiful, right? So anyway, so he says he made the night a stillness, meaning it's a time of rest, and that's the nizam, that's the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has create things. And for most people, that's how it works. They're awake in the day, and then at night they're at rest, and they rest completely at night. And then the day is there for, which is also implied, the day is there for all the work and all the to go and benefit from Allah's generosity, through work and through play and everything, and then the night there for rest. Allah's done this, وَجَعَلَ, deliberately He's done this, right? And so there's a hint at the day in Faliqul Isbah, the splitter of the dawn, the making, the maker of the dawn, you could say, the one who makes the dawn break. And then there's the opposite at night, where the time of rest and repose and relaxation comes, and and then this is appears. Why? Because of the sun and moon, because we orbit the sun, and the moon orbits us, our planet. And it's beautiful. He says وَالشَّمْسَ وَالْقَمَرَ حُسْبَانًا, and He's made the sun and the moon a perfect system, you could say. Like they move with precision. We know, even without sophisticated equipment, we know, people in the past have known, thousands of years. It takes 365 days for the earth to travel around the sun. We know about the summer solstice and the winter solstice. Each day is 23 hours 56 minutes, and then over 4 years, the extra 4 minutes add up, and so you have a leap year, and it's very intricate. And let alone, like you can have apps now that will predict literally exactly when the sun will set, down to the second, right? And the moon as well, the moon, when's the new moon born, and after how many hours, 16 and a half hours or so, you can see the new moon. And where's it going to be? They can predict solar eclipses and lunar eclipses, and that's amazing. They're both spheres, and although the sun is 400 times larger than the moon, but the moon is 400 times closer. The sun's 400 times further away. So because they're both spheres, and because of this distance, they both appear the same size, right? So when the moon comes in front of, between Earth and the sun, you have a total solar eclipse, and it just speaks of perfection in design. And that's the design of God. That's why He says, ذَلِكَ, that lofty, amazing matter. All of these things is mentioned. تَقْدِيرُ الْعَزِيزِ الْعَلِيمِ. It's the precise design of the Almighty. He's so powerful, nothing can resist him. When he commands these things, he makes these things happen this way. Nothing can go off course, and if he doesn't want it, he's the Almighty and he's the all-knowing. His omniscience, subhanahu wa ta'ala, with that he's created everything. That's why there is a perfect system. And it's the unruly bunch of the human beings. But there is a day where all that's going to get settled as well. So all this points to the day of judgment. So taqdeer, it's a plan, it's a design, it's intricate, it's just amazing the way, and the thing is, all of reality is like this. Every aspect of your life and everything that happens, it's all intricately planned, of the Almighty and all-knowing. So then he's وَهُوَ الَّذِي جَعَلَ لَكُمُ النُّجُومَ لِتَهْتَدُوا بِهَا فِي ظُلُمَاتِ الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ. And he is the one, there's no one else. He is the one, this is proof of his oneness and his power and knowledge. He is the one who has made the stars as your guides through darknesses, through the darkness of land and sea. Now, and then he says وَقَدْ فَصَّلْنَا الْآيَاتِ لِقَوْمٍ يَعْلَمُونَ. And we have already made things clear for people who know. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here is saying that He is the one who's made the nujum, the stars, the heavenly bodies. And in reality, you just think about it, we're on some planet somewhere here, and you look up and you see Orion the hunter. You see his arm and you see the two shoulder bits and then the feet bit. And then you see the three stars. Now one star might be here, and the other star might be here, and the third star might be, closer to us. But the way they appear to us, relative to our position, it's like a straight line. And it's just amazing, like they could be placed anywhere. And, these stars have, such alignment. And then you have the pole star that's always facing north. And, Allah's made these things for our benefit, right? And so لِتَهْتَدُوا بِهَا, so you can guide yourself through them. Now this isn't the only reason why these things were created. There's other wisdoms and there's other purposes, but it just shows one of the gifts that Allah has given us, that humanity has benefited us from. You go into a plane, if all the equipment stops, what do? They just turn it off and look out the window, right? They can use the stars, and it's been a gift, all the trade throughout history for all of humanity. And people have been using these, the stars to guide. This is how civilizations have met and thrived together, and exchanged benefits and exchanged technology and all of these things, all from the gift of God. So you can guide yourselves through them, via them, in the intense darknesses of the land and the sea. Because land, the darkness is not just something that is just on one level. Things can get darker and darker until it's pitch black, until you can't see your hand in front of your own face. And darkness, so land where there's no signs, there's no distinguishing features on the road that you could use, and even more so at sea, because it's just water wherever you look. I believe the horizon's 18 miles ahead of you when you're at sea, and that's as far as it goes. That's why, like, if a ship's coming from the distance, you see the mast first. Like in the old ships, you'd see the mast and you see the pirate's flag first, and then the ship would eventually appear, because it's the Earth's a sphere, and then it would appear like that. And so there's no these signs there, or none of these signs in the sea. And so Allah's given us these things for us to to benefit from. And look at all these gifts and blessings that Allah gives us, and they're there for all people, whether they believe, whether they don't believe. They're gifts from God. So then he said, قَدْ فَصَّلْنَا الْآيَاتِ. By God, we have explained these our tremendous signs, right? And also these signs, one after the other, again and again and again, in a powerful, clear, rhetorical style, right? And they're incredibly clear. and the clarity allows for ease of reflection and understanding. But لِقَوْمٍ يَعْلَمُونَ, for a people who know. And so the signs are there and they're clarified for everyone. But for people who know that these are from God, these are blessings from God, and the signs are from God, and they reflect on these signs, they benefit. So the signs are for everyone, but these people benefit. Right? As for someone who won't allow himself to be convinced, won't open himself up to the truth, then they're not going to benefit. Right? They'll just say, oh, it's just some book saying something, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, He's clarified them in detail, and it's these people who benefit. And then He says, وَهُوَ الَّذِي أَنْشَأَكُم مِّن نَفْسٍ وَاحِدَةٍ فَمُسْتَقَرٌّ وَمُسْتَوْدَعٌ قَدْ فَصَّلْنَا الْآيَاتِ لِقَوْمٍ يَفْقَهُونَ. And then He says, and He, once again, وَهُوَ الَّذِي, He's the one showing once again His divinity, power, knowledge, perfection. And it's Him, no one else has done this, just like no one else did the previous things. And He is the one, أَنْشَأَكُم. So ansha'a has a meaning of you didn't exist and then you were brought into existence, but not immediately, but in stages. So stage by stage by stage, right? And then, so it's beautiful the way He's really succinctly put this. He's created you, especially when you understand the word ansha'a. He's created you, originated you all from a single soul. So He created that one soul, Adam, and then from Adam's rib, He created his wife. And then the normal procedure that we know of people being born, through conception, and the process of the development of the fetus in the womb, all of that occurred. And Allah has done that. And it's all from one being, one single being. And it's just remarkable, honestly. And if you think that this one being, Adam was however he was, whichever physical features he had, but then look at the disparity of features in all of his descendants. No two people are exactly alike. You might have great resemblances and similarities, but no two people are exactly alike. And there's 8 billion of them walking around today. And God knows how many have been there in the past and how many will be in the future. And look at the disparity and the variance, all of this in height, texture, the shape of our eyes, our noses, all of these things, intelligence, all everything, right? Allah who's done that from min nafsin wahida, from a single soul. So then He says, فَمُسْتَقَرٌّ وَمُسْتَوْدَعٌ. So it's interesting. So the way to understand this is for mustaqarrun. So He says, and then assign you a place to live and another to be laid to rest. That's one understanding. And then Ibn Abbas has another one where for mustaqar is a short-term place of remaining, where you remain temporarily. And then mustawda, where you're placed, right, for a longer period, you could say. So the first refers to being as they express it, in the loins of the father, in the seed of the father, So Allah created us, and then our origin starts off in the seed of, the fathers, in the sperm, and that's there temporarily, for a short period of time. And then mustawda, and then it's placed. Just look at the wording, description of the zygote going, and then after the insemination, over the couple of days it takes to get to the uterus, and then it attaches to the wall. It's as though it's placed there, and for a longer period. And He's expressed it like this. So that's one interpretation, and because the wording is general. And there's another qira'ah for mustaqirrun, right? And so everyone is staying, actively staying. So this would be like on the ground, you could say. You're living on the ground. Wa mustawda, and then He is placed, right, intricately, and you're lowered into your grave. You're placed there. So the second one would refer to being in the ground. It's really quite articulate. In just a few words, these meanings have been expressed. And in all that, Allah is the one who's done it all with His knowledge and will and power. It points to his perfection, points to his, him being God. If it wasn't for this, if people didn't die, or if we couldn't be buried, or if our bodies just didn't decompose, there'd be mountains of bodies that everyone would have to skirt around, just to live. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us a gift that, once a generation is gone, space is made for the next generation. And, subhanallah. So then he said, قَدْ فَصَّلْنَا الْآيَاتِ. Truly, we've in detail, we've detailed the signs. Once again, as he said in the previous verse, لِقَوْمٍ يَفْقَهُونَ. For a people who have deep understanding. So the first group, they know that, yes, these stars are there and we can use them for guidance. And then, oh, look, they've been placed there by God. And, oh, look, God's telling us He's given us these stars for us to be guided with, for example. And, it's a favor from Him. And look, we benefit, we should show thanks. So they know this and they reach this realization, or those who know this point and then realize, oh, this is a gift from God. It's knowledge. But here is yafqahun, where there's a deeper understanding, fiqh, right? Reflect on this point. That from a single person, all these many different people have been created with the most intricate differences. Some are better looking, and some are taller, and some are, some are stronger. And Allah's created us all in this way. And so there's a deep precision in the mechanics of the human species, not just the human species, everything. And then, people have gifts in life. Some people have gifts that others don't have. And so it's not like, some people just favored above everyone else. Like there's gifts that are spread. And Allah, so someone who has deep understanding realizes Allah has created me. And from this, I should thank Him. For the good that I have, for the opportunities, you understand the purpose of life. And so this comes from reflection. So everything's been detailed, but then there's those people who take it, think about it, reflect it deeply, and then they get this deep understanding, this fiqh, right? For example, there's a difference between being told you were created by God because He wants to reward you, and so therefore He's created you to worship Him, so He can reward you for that worship. And just reflecting and understanding, even if it's through the verse of the Quran, and coming to this realization yourself, there's a big difference between the two. The impact of the latter is stronger. So we'll stop here. Allah bless you all. And we'll continue from this point, inshallah. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.